Hello everyone, I'm here today to discuss my answer in Managerial Economics, Chapter 13, Strategic Decision Making in Oligopoly Markets. Discuss fully what an oligopoly market is. Cite an example. Oligopoly is an economic term used to describe a specific type of competitive environment. The word oligopoly comes from the Greek oligos, meaning little or small, and polein, meaning to sell. It is a market characterized by a small number of firms who realize they are interdependent in their pricing and output policies. Example, cable, television, and commercial air travel. Explain fully the following characterization of an oligopoly. Few sellers. There are just several sellers who control all or most of the sales in the industry. Either a homogeneous or differentiated product. In an homogeneous oligopoly, the major firm produce identical products such as steel bars or aluminum ingots. Prices tend to be uniform in homogeneous oligopolies. In a differentiated oligopoly, similar but not identical products are produced. Example include the automobile industry, the cigarette industry, and the soft drink industry. In differentiated oligopolies, companies attempt to differentiate their products from those of their competitors. To the extent that they are able to establish differentiated products, companies may be able to maintain price differences. Difficult market entry, also known as a barrier to entry. These are obstacles that make it difficult to enter a given market. The term can refer to hindrances a firm faces in trying to enter a market or industry, such as government regulation and patents, or a large established firm taking advantage of economies of scale, or those an individual faces in trying to gain entrance to a profession, such as education or licensing requirements. Explain fully the non-price competition feature of oligopoly. What strategies do firms operating oligopolistic markets use to increase market share? Non-price competition is the favored strategy for oligopolies because price competition can lead to destructive price wars. Oligopoly firms also use a number of strategies that involve measures other than pricing to compete and maintain market power. Some of these strategies try to build barriers to entry by new entrants, whereas the intention of other measures is to distinguish the firm from other existing competitors. Do you think it is possible in the market that is dominated by few large firms to engage in price-fixing agreements or cartel? Support your answer. I think it is possible because oligopoly is a market form wherein a market or industry is dominated by a small group of large sellers, and cartels are created when a few large producers decide to cooperate with respect to aspects of their market. Once formed, cartels can fix prices for members so that competition on price is avoided. In this case, cartels are also called price rings. What is collusion in the context of an oligopolistic market? Is a non-competitive, secret, and sometimes illegal agreement between rivals which attempt to disrupt the market's equilibrium. The act of collusion involves people or companies which would typically compete against one another, but who conspire to work together to gain an unfair market advantage. Now let's proceed to the chapter 14, which is Advanced Pricing Techniques. Explain fully the following pricing technique discussed in our textbook. Cite an example to illustrate said technique. Cost plus pricing. It is a method in which the selling price is set by evaluating all variable costs a company incurs and adding markup percentage to establish the price. Example, suppose that a company sells a product for $1 and that $1 includes all the costs that go into making and marketing the product. The company may then add a percentage on top of that $1 as the plus part of cost plus pricing. That portion of the price is the company's profit. Declining block pricing. Under declining block pricing, they offers quantity discount over successive discrete blocks of quantities purchased. Declining block pricing motivates individuals to buy more than they would buy when facing a single or uniform price. Price discrimination refers to a pricing strategy that charges consumer different prices for identical goods or services. There is a different types of price discrimination: first-degree price discrimination, second-degree price discrimination, third-degree price discrimination. Example of forms of price discrimination include coupons, age discount, occupational discount, retail incentives, and gender-based pricing, and financial aid and haggling. First-degree price discrimination, also known as perfect price discrimination. First-degree price discrimination involves charging consumers the maximum price that they are willing to pay for a good or service. Here, consumer surplus is entirely captured by the firm. In practice, a consumer maximum willingness to pay is difficult to determine. Therefore, such a pricing strategy is rarely employed. Examples of first-degree price discrimination include car sales at more dealership where the customer rarely expect to pay full sticker price, scalpers of concert and sporting event ticket, and roadside sellers of fruit and produce. Second-degree discrimination involve the establishment of a pricing structure for a particular good based on the number of units sold. Quantity discount are a common example. In this case, the seller charges a higher per unit price for fewer units sold and a lower per unit price for larger quantities purchased. Examples include quantity discount for energy use, the variation in price for different sizes of box cereal, packaged paper products, and sodas and French fries at fast food outlets. Third-degree price discrimination, also known as group price discrimination. Third-degree price discrimination involves charging different prices depending on a particular market segment or consumer group. It is commonly seen in the entertainment industry. Example: business versus tourist affairs, business versus residential telephone service, and senior discount. Uniform pricing. Uniform pricing is a pricing policy that is common in many types of market, both industrial and retail. I mean a deliver pricing policy by which a firm delivers a given product to any customer at a fixed price independent of the customer location. For example, in retail trade, many mail orders outlets such as LL Bean and Lance and use uniform pricing, although the price may be quantity dependent. Two-part pricing, also called two-part tariff, a form of pricing in which consumers are charged both an entry fee, fixed price, and a usage fee per unit price. Example of two-part pricing include a phone contract that charges a fixed monthly charge and a per-minute charge for use of the phone. Make a research on the pricing techniques employed by the following business. What could be the reasons for pricing their product service in this way? Manufacturers of alcoholic drinks. Increasing alcohol taxes is the most commonly used strategy for increasing the price of alcoholic beverages, and studies have shown that alcohol taxes are efficiently reflected in the retail price of these products. There are different types of alcohol taxes, including excise taxes and sale taxes, which can be implemented alone or in combination. Excise taxes are based on the volume of alcohol sold, are often applied at the wholesale level, are beverage specific. Example, are usually different for beer, wine, and distilled spirits, and tend to decline over time due to inflation unless they are increased periodically. Retailer of consumer appliances. I think the retailer of consumer appliances pricing technique is the manufacturer suggested retail price or MSRP, because this pricing strategy is perhaps the most familiar for consumers. The idea behind the manufacturer's suggested retail price is to standardize the prices of products sold across multiple locations and is often used for mass-produced items like consumer electronics or household appliances. This approach can also be offered to as cost-based pricing since it takes into account the cost of manufacturing the product, a profit margin for both the manufacturer and the retailer, as well as the prices of similar products. Generally, the manufacturer provides the products to the retailer at roughly half the MSRP, enabling the retailer to turn a profit from the sale. Hospitals. I think hospitals, one of the pricing techniques they use is bundled pricing strategy. Because bundled pricing strategy provide a consistent and measurable methodology to identify which aspect of the service or procedure is driving up the cost. With this level of transparency, payers have more information at their fingertips to better educate their members to make value-based choices. This consumer drive model reduces costs and encourages providers to offer competitive fees. Like for example, in 2010, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services (CMS) implemented bundled pricing programs, and by the end of 2013, had more than 450 provider organizations signed up to participate in the program. CMS has since stated that its goal is to have 50% of its payment tied to quality or value-based payment models by 2018. Government services. Efficient public sector prices depend on numerous conditions including the public good or externality characteristic of the services, the structure of markets, the deadweight cost of paying for fixed costs, transaction costs, and information problems. Consequently, economic theory prescribes a complex set of efficient prices ranging from zero through short-run marginal costs up to full cost pricing and including some intermediate prices. However, economists have not been very successful at translating this complex pricing principle into a workable pricing policy to be implemented mainly by non-economists. This paper describes efficient pricing principles and an attempt to translate them into practice for government information services in New South Wales. It describes but the practical second-best simplification adopted in order to implement an efficient pricing policy and the arguments that government agencies raise against the pricing policy. Similar pricing issue would arise for most government services. Thank you for taking the time to listen.